Mark was a college student living in Indiana. His house was quiet and set next to some woods. During the day, everything felt normal, but at night, the woods made the place feel strange. Behind his house, under the patio, there was a hot tub. That's where everything happened. It was Saturday night, March 29 th, around las 12:30 am. Spring break was ending, and school was starting again soon. Mark had his three close friends over, Kyle, Keenan, and Derek. They were spending one last night, hanging out. They were in the garage playing pool, blasting music, and drinking. Everyone was laughing and having fun. It felt like a good night. After a while, Kyle said they should go in the hot tub. It was cold outside, so the warm water sounded even better. Everyone agreed. They got changed into swim trunks, grabbed their drinks, and went into the hot tub. The warm water felt good as they talked, made jokes, and didn't pay attention to the time. Then they heard something. It was the sound of sticks breaking. Like footsteps coming from the woods. It didn't sound like an animal. It sounded like a peasant. They all went quiet and looked down. Keenan tried to calm everyone down and said it was probably nothing. The others left. But it was more to stop feeling nervous. They danced, music applauded, and tried to keep talking. About 10 minutes later, a man walked out of the woods, stepped into the light from the patio. He was wearing a long black coat, white sweatpants, and a gaming headset. His eyes were white and his face didn't show any feeling. Everyone jumped. They yelled at him and asked who he was and what he was doing. The man raised his hands and said his name was Seth. Seth was 33 years old and they had them laughing and wanted to join. The guys just looked at each other confused. Mark told him to leave, but he didn't listen. Instead, Seth took off his coat, then his shoes, and then his pants. It was now only his underwear. Then he got into the hot tub. No one knew what to say. Mark pulled out his phone and started recording, not for fun, but because the whole thing felt unreal. This was the footage he captured. What the? Wait, they started asking Seth questions like where he came from and if he knew anyone there. He just kept saying he had them laughing and wanted to hang out. Then he said something really disturbing. He said he had molested a child. That changed everything. Obviously. The guys jumped out of the hot tub and started yelling at him to leave. They pulled him out of the water. Seth didn't try to stop them. He just stood there dripping wet and staring. Then he slowly walked back into the woods without saying anything. The group ran inside and locked all the doors. Some of them left, nervously trying to shake it off, but Mark and Kyle didn't feel okay. They felt like it wasn't over. About 20 minutes passed. Kyle said they should go back out to lock the hot tub. Mark said okay. So, they got flashlights and stepped outside. That's when Mark saw something next to the hot tub. It was a phone. He picked it up and saw the screen light up. Whatever it was on the lock screen made him drop the phone. He didn't say what it was, but it scared him. He said he thought Seth would come back, so they ran inside and told the others. Everyone tried to stay calm. Then they heard a tapping sound on the window. Mark already knew who it was. He opened the curtain and wouldn't turn it. Seth was standing right there. His face was pale, his eyes were wide open, and he had a creepy smile. He didn't say anything. He didn't move. He just stared. Mark yelled for Kyle. Kyle ran in and called the police. Mark grabbed the bed and went to the front door. He yelled for Seth to leave and take his phone. Seth didn't answer. Instead, he slowly walked down the side of the house. Mark followed a little bit and looked through the patio window. Seth was standing there again, staring inside. Mark told him the cops were coming and that they needed to leave, but Seth didn't move. He just slowly raised his hand and waved on Seth. Then he turned and walked back into the woods. The police arrived a few minutes later. The guys told them everything. The officers searched the woods and found Seth standing alone just looking toward the house. They arrested him for trespassing and everyone thought it was over. But Mark didn't feel that way. A few days later, he saw a post on Snapchat from a girl who lived nearby. It was a video. It showed another man, not Seth, trying to break into her house late at night. That's what bothered Mark the most. It meant Seth might not be the only one out there. There could be more. They could be connected and they might not be done. A few years ago, 3 high school friends named Beck, Matthew, and Tyler decided to explore a sweat tunnel in their neighborhood. It was winter and very cold outside. The tunnel was at the edge of their neighborhood and a small creek next to some office buildings. These buildings were empty and dark at night. The boys had seen the tunnel before, but never went inside of it. It always looked creepy and they joked about it. But deep down they were curious. That night, they finally decided to go in. They brought lots with them, thinking it would help if someone asked what they were doing. They knew they weren't allowed to be there. But they wanted to do something exciting. Just as they pulled into the parking lot, a police car showed up. A police officer got out and asked what they were doing there. Someone had apparently seen them on the security camera. Taylor quickly said that they were just going sledding. The officer looked at them for a moment, then told them to leave, so they left. But only for a little while. After driving around for about 30 minutes, they came back. This time, they parked farther away behind a building where no one could see them. They walked down a hill behind the buildings. They could see their breath in the cold, crisp air. They stood in front of the tunnel, noting how big, round, and completely dark inside it was. They turned on their flashlights and walked in. 10 of your light, everybody. Dude, this is so, look at the date, dude. 19:19:19. Oh my god. Dude, how did we even find this? Oh my god. Inside the tunnel, the ground was dry. It was quiet except for the sound of water dripping deep in. The walls had graffiti all over them. Most of it looked old, but one thing caught their eye. A date was spray painted in larger numbers. 61919. The paint looks new and serious, like it was done recently. That made them feel uneasy. Their flashlights weren't very strong and didn't shine very far. Still, they kept walking and acting tough, but deep down they were nervous. The farther they went, the colder it got. The temperature was dropping fast, even though they were on the ground. They could still see their breath. The walls looked like they had eyes on them. Big icicles hung down from the ceiling. Some were huge and sharp. Keep it slow. Keep it slow. Oh. Is there a light down there? I think. It's moving. Wait. What was that? Hello? Keep going. Keep going, bro. Dude, these icicles can like impale you, dude. Look how suddenly. A loud cracking sound echoing from further down the tunnel sent the group fleeing in fear. The sound resembled something heavy hitting stone. It wasn't any of them. The sound came from deep inside the tunnel, too far to see. They tripped, slid, and bumped into each other as they rushed to get out. When they got outside, they were shaking and breathing hard. That's when Beck noticed his phone was missing. He had dropped it while they were running. Taylor and Matthew told him to forget about it. They didn't want to go back in, but Beck didn't. Listen, he grabbed his flashlight and started walking toward the tunnel again. The others followed, but they didn't want to. The tunnel felt different this time. It felt even darker. They felt heavy and strange, like something was wrong. Their flashlights didn't work as well. And the silence was even worse than before. It felt like something was watching them. It felt like my pocket got like a little empty over here. Like somewhere over here. Go over here. This way. Dude, that's where we. Beck found his phone. Afterwards, the group continued deep into the tunnel investigating. That's when they heard a sound. That rock. It must have hit like here or something. A loud scream came from deep in the tunnel. It echoed off the walls and felt like it was getting closer. They didn't wait. They turned and ran as fast as they could. This time, no one talked, no one looked back. They just ran. They got to the car, jumped in, and drove away without stopping. The car ride back was mostly silent. The three friends thought it was over when they all got home. They were ready to move on with their lives. But late that night, Beck's doorbell rang twice. This was at some of our internet when Beck's dad went to answer the door. Nobody was there. This, of course, begs the question where the boys followed home that night, or was it simply a very unfortunately timed dindondage? That remains a mystery. The night left more questions than answers for the three friends. But they all heard the noises and of course got it on video. Perhaps it was something they weren't meant to stumble upon. In April of 2022, a man named Kenneth took a construction job far from home as part of a 3-month accommodation program. The pay was decent, and he needed every dollar. It wasn't in the best place financially, and the bonus of working alongside his longtime friend Jean made the opportunity more appealing. They figured